Frankly, the drive home from the hospital where Chris died was far worse than the drive there. As we'd followed the ambulance earlier, I had hoped, if they hadn't been able to patch up my wife and release her from the emergency room that night, then at least she'd be back home with us after a few days of rest. Hope. As the twins hoped we'd been more honest with them, I'd hoped Chris was being honest with me about just how far along her cancer had progressed. But she didn't want any of us to worry. Those past few months, after receiving lab results indicating cancer had spread to yet another ovary, and the oncologist had been determined it was treatable, she told me she'd undergo therapy. So there was hope. But that was all a lie. Post-mortem, I was allowed to sit in the hospital room next to the corpse of the woman who I had loved more than my own life, and be alone with Chris for one last time, holding her hand. I racked my brains for words to tell my lovely red flower how wonderful she and her daughters had made every day. We four were as one, toasting life, hoping it'd never end. But I said nothing as I toyed with the wedding band on her finger, the one I'd given her after she stopped wearing Jan Wojciech's, shortly following our first toast to life together, our first kiss, the first time we made love, and when we first told one another we loved each other. I hoped I'd die right now here next to my wife. I didn't want to return home to tell Noika and Anya their mother had lost her life to what we didn't share the truth about during all those deceitful months. Tell them by myself, alone, without Chris, without hope. I'm sorry to say this, but truth trumps hope every time, and the truth was Chris had made a decision not to continue treatment over those past months before dying. The truth was the oncologist was alarmed how fast the tumour had grown and how cancer had metastasised to the nearby pelvic organs, her uterus and bladder. The truth was the doctors discovered it had advanced to the lymph nodes and around Chris's aorta as it migrated and spread like wildfire throughout her body, eventually causing pleural effusion. The truth was, my wife and her doctors had met in secret to discuss how it was only a very short matter of time now, and no real hope remained for recovery. The truth was, it was simply time to surrender, to spend those last precious moments at home with family instead of fighting any longer the inevitable death sentence the disease had dealt. Not to forfeit whatever grains of sand still resided in her hourglass of life, sequestered in a hospital room surrounded by doctors and nurses. Either way, cancer would win in the end. Truth is a bitch, and then you die. I'd lost track of how long I'd been silently sitting there, my mind spinning like an overworked turbine, numbly staring at the ring on Chris's finger. When Gus finally returned, I was told the three of us, myself, Gus, and the oncologist, should talk. The oncologist explained how once the para-aortic lymph nodes deteriorated, and when so many organs ceased to function at once, that the body and mind just shut down. He kept on talking, but I'd already stopped listening. What was the point now? At the conversation's end, I was given some pills that would help me relax, or help me sleep, or whatever. Gus then asked for the parking lot ticket and told me he'd bring the car around for the drive home. Home, where I must explain to two girls how they'd lost both their biological father and mother, and were now left to move forward with only their lying stepdad. Explain it all on my own, hoping they'd believe me after I hadn't been completely truthful with them before. Then tell the twins another tall tale about we'd get through this together, so one day it would all be fine. Wondering if I swallowed every single pill I'd been handed, would they possess a potency sufficient to send me into a deep, deep sleep? So deep that when I awakened I'd be with Chris again, forever. As Gus and I drove in silence, I kept asking myself over and over and over again, how did it come to this?